everyone. Today we're going to show you a couple examples of how you can use lists within 365 for your organization. So the way you can create a list is you're going to go into your 365 gear and you're going to go to Site Contents. And from here, you can choose to add a list, a library. Today, we're going to focus on lists. So this is where you create your lists. And when you create a list, you can choose if you want to do a blank list from an existing list, or if you would like to import from an Excel or a CSV. There's also multiple templates that you could use. So in this case, we used a list to represent all of our L codes in how we bill, right? So for prosthetics and orthotics, we use L codes, A codes, different codes to represent the type of device that we're providing. So you can see what we have here is rows and columns of data that will put this into a quick edit view so you can see basically rows and columns of the different L codes with each of the descriptions we've identified. Okay, so along the side here, we have all of our codes, and then along the top, we have all the information that we want to represent about that code. So this is very similar, as I said, to like an Excel file. But the beauty of using it as a list within SharePoint is the functionality to sort the information in different ways. So in this case, we added a filter so that we could choose a little bit more easily the code that we're looking for. And then it's going to present all this information to us. However, maybe I only want to look at certain groupings. So for example, let's go over to our FAR column, and we have a column here of a documentation checklist. We also have a column here of a code type. So if I was to choose this code type and say, okay, show me all of the codes that are knee orthosis codes, then my data condenses down to only show me those codes that have that information marked on it. All right. So that's the way you can sort. Again, very similar to Excel in some regards when you use the sort function this way. The other way you can do it is what we call creating views of the data. So you can set different views by creating them, and then it's just a hyperlink to get there. So for example, orthosis knee, I can also do that as a view, and it's going to again provide me all of knee orthoses codes. But what you're going to see the difference is that this, doing it as a view, it actually gives you a URL that links back to this specific view of only showing the knee orthosis codes. So the reason that's important is because you can take this URL link and embed this as a hyperlink into your site. So staff members just choose the link and they don't have to go through the filtering way in which we also can filter on the list itself. So this is just an example of how we used a list to provide us a better way to access this information. And lastly, the other reason I enjoy using SharePoint lists is that there's a one centralized place where then this gets updated, and anybody can access this list simply by having access to the internet. They can come and everybody's accessing the same information. This is an example of how we utilized a SharePoint list. The other example I'm going to show you is, in this case, it was sorting it by codes. We're going to do another list where it sorts it by insurances. So here's an example of a list. Again, looks slightly different because we formatted it with the scroll bar, but it's created in the same way as we created the other ones, which is again, going to your gear and your site contents and choosing new list. Okay, that will create your list for you. So let's look at this example of this list in a view for just our insurances. So we'll go back to our home page, and I'm going to show you what this looks like in just the normal view. So an all items view is going to put it back into this way that we looked at, kind of like the L code crosstalk, where we looked at it as rows and columns of data. All right. But for this purpose, looking at it this way just wasn't the best way to view it. So we were able to manipulate the view into providing us a view that looks like this. It's a little easier and cleaner to look at. And as we scroll, we see that on the other side of the screen, it's going to show us the information. And we can also enter into any one of these and view it this way. So it's static. So again, this is a SharePoint list. And we changed the view to be slightly different than the view that we were using here for the L codes. But there's great power in using SharePoint lists, again, to show information and resources in a standardized fashion that lives in one place, making your team more efficient. Hope you enjoyed this.